So fire communications or dispatch takes all of the 911 calls that come in for all of Waterloo Region when it's fire related. So when you initially call 911, your call gets routed to police department, and then from the police department, if you say you need the fire department, you come to us. When we answer your call, we take your information based on your address location. We send the closest units to you as a fire response.
Yeah, 123.
Fire department for what city?
Kitchener.
And address?
270 Strasbourg Road.
And what's going on at 270
A reported fire in the machine. Not sure if it's out yet. Building's full of smoke. We're gonna make
A structure fire?
Yes,
In the kitchen? And you know, is everybody evacuating the building? Remember that we're professional and we're here to help you. So the best way to let us do that is to give us the information as we ask it of you. Location is the most important thing. If we don't know where you are, we can't send you the help that you need. The second most important information is what's going on. Once we know the location and what's happening, we can send the appropriate resources, and that's when we're going to collect any secondary information like name, phone number, callback information, any additional information based on the premise or anything else that's happening at that time. The location response just depends on where the call actually is. We have time guidelines within dispatch that require us to have the call answered and dispatched within 60 seconds. So the faster we can do that, the faster we can get the help that you need. If you're within a city, your typical response time is 3 to 5 minutes. If you're out in one of our rural areas, the response time is going to be a little bit longer because all of our rural departments are on call with a pager. They respond to the station and then they respond to the location of the emergency. So when we receive a 911 call, the most important information again is to give us the location and what's going on for your emergency. So if it's a fire, that it's a house fire or a building fire, or maybe it's a fire outside, it's a bonfire that's gotten out of control or something like that, as long as we know the address and the type of emergency, we can get the appropriate resources dispatched. After that, any secondary information. So for example, you have a storage shed and it has gasoline in it or anything like that, that's always really important information to pass along to the call taker because that's going to impact our responders as they're responding. A lot of times people say, just get me the help, just get me the help. And they think that because we are still call taking or gathering additional information that we don't have the resources deployed. So that's probably one of the most important things is knowing that if you give us the address and you give us the emergency, we have somebody sending those trucks. So if we're asking you additional questions, that's not holding up your response time at all. It's just building a clearer, better picture for the responders on their way. Also giving us a full story ahead of time before telling us the address or the emergency delays your response. So the call takers ask you the questions in a particular order for a reason. So just answer the call takers' questions as well as you can. And we recognize that it's an emergency, but we are professionals and we're going to do the best we can to get you the best resources as quickly as possible. Yes, if anyone's calling emergency from emergency on a cell phone, you can access that on anyone's cell phone without knowing their entry code. And knowing that with the predominance of cell phones now, it's not like in the movies and we don't necessarily know your exact location. So when you call 911 from a cell phone, it's really important to teach everybody what their address is. And that goes for kids, that goes for babysitters. A really good tip that we have is that anytime if you have young kids and someone else is there looking after them, is to have your address information just on a sticky note on the fridge or something on the fridge. Because in an emergency, people panic and they forget where they are. And that's one of the first things that if you're a teenage babysitter and you're babysitting someone and you have a child choking or something like that, or they've bonked their head and they're bleeding, what happens typically is they'll panic and they'll forget their location. So we want to make sure that they have that information accessible to them so that when they're calling 911, they can give that information clearly and concisely so the help can get on their way. I've been with the fire department for about 19 years. And in my career, I've definitely seen a big progression from landline to cell phone. Landline was great. It gave you the exact location that the bill was registered to. So 99% of the time, it was the location that we needed to go. With cell phones, we get, it's called a cell drop, and that typically brings you within a reasonable area of the location, but it doesn't always give you the exact address. So our percentages now are very predominant cell phone or VoIP. And VoIP is your like your Rogers phones and things like that, and they don't always have an exact address associated either. So we have, I would say it's probably less than 10% now that we get an actual landline call from a landline with an associated address. Everything else is done based on the closest proximity of cell towers or things like that. We have help on the way. If anything changes, give me a call back on 911 before we get there, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Dispatch pump 32.
Charlie Delta side of the building at the rear. We have light, you can hear